Assalamualaikum. This is our group assignment for electrical system BEKG 2433. So our title is about nuclear power plants. This is our team member. We have three person, which is Muhammad Najib, Muhammad Saleh and Nor Farizan. So the title we choose for our assignment is about nuclear power plants. This is the introduction for nuclear power plant. A nuclear power plant is a thermal power station in which the heat source is a nuclear reactor. As is typical of thermal power station, heat is used to generate steam that drives a steam turbine connected to a generator that produces electricity. Nuclear plants are very often used for base load since their operations, maintenance and fuel costs are at the lower end of the spectrum of costs. However, building a nuclear power plant often spans 5 to 10 years, which can equal to significant financial costs depending on how the initial investment are financed. Nuclear power plants have a carbon footprint comparable to that of renewable energy such as solar farms and wind farms, and much lower than fossil fuels such as natural gas and brown coal. Basic construction. A nuclear reactor is a special apparatus used to perform nuclear fission. Since the nuclear fission is radioactive, the reactor is covered by a protective shield. Splitting up of nuclei of heavy atoms is called as nuclear fission, during which huge amount of energy is released. Nuclear fission is done by bombarding slow-moving neutrons on the nuclei of heavy elements. As the nuclei break up, it releases energy as well as more neutrons, which further cause fission of neighboring atoms. Hence, it is a chain reaction and it must be controlled, otherwise it may result in explosion. A nuclear reactor consists of fuel rods, control rods, and moderator. A fuel rod contains small round fuel pellets, uranium pellets. Control rods are of cadmium which absorb neutrons. They are inserted into reactor and can be moved in or out to control the reaction. And the moderator can be graphite, rods, or the coolant itself. Moderator slows down the neutrons before they bombard on the fuel rods. Basic operation and principle. Nuclear power plants heat water to produce steam. The steam is used to spin large turbines that generate electricity. Nuclear power plants use heat produced during nuclear fission to heat water. In nuclear fission, atoms are split apart to form smaller atoms, releasing energy. Fission takes place inside the reactor of a nuclear power plant. At the center of the reactor is the core, which contains uranium fuel. The uranium fuel is formed into ceramic pellets. Each ceramic pellet produces about the same amount of energy as 150 gallons of oil. The heat produced during nuclear fission in the reactor core is used to boil water into steam, which, which turns the blades of a steam turbine. As the turbine blades turn, they drive generators that make electricity. Nuclear plants cool the steam back into water in a separate structure at the power plant called a cooling tower, or they use water from ponds, river or the ocean. The cool water is then reused to produce steam.
Component and operation. Nuclear power plant has four main components to operate. Number one is nuclear reactor. Reactor is the key of a power plant as it contains fuel and its nuclear chain reaction. Number two is steam generation. Common power plants use pressurized water reactor which use two rotating water loops to produce steam. Second most common reactor heats the water in the core directly to steam. Number three is turbine generation. Once steam has been produced, it moves at high pressure and speed through the turbine. The rotation of the turbine is used to rotate an electric generator which produces electricity. Number 4, cooling tower. Cooling tower is the most iconic symbol of nuclear power plant. It serves to push waste heat into the atmosphere by transferring heat from hot water to cooler outside. Building nuclear power plant requirement. There are main requirements when building nuclear power plant. Number 1, nuclear safety principle for siting of nuclear power plant. There is requirement for a country that want to build nuclear power plant. They must refer to IAEA. IAEA or International Atomic Energy Agency has documented specific standard and guideline. Number 2, external factors affecting the plant. Possible external hazard from local characteristic to the plant need to be identified. Safety measurement plan early in order to determine the safety and suitability of the site before the nuclear power plant begins. Number 3, radiological impact on the public and the local environment. Assessment of radiological hazards from the plant to the surrounding during normal operation and its abnormal condition are necessary. Number 4, feasibility of emergency plans. Emergency plans are derived from the risk assessment to provide protection and countermeasures in case of accident or radiological event in the nuclear power plant. Nuclear power plant construction requirement. There are 4 main requirements when building nuclear power plant. Number 1, nuclear safety principle for siting of nuclear power plant. There is requirement for a country that want to build nuclear power plant. They must refer to IAEA. IAEA or International Atomic Energy Agency has documented specific standard and guidelines. Number 2 is external factors affecting the plant. Possible if external hazard from local characteristics to the plant need to be identified. Safety measurement plan early in order to determine the safety and suitability of the site before the nuclear power plant begins. Number 3 is radiological impact on the public and the local environment. Assessment of radiological hazard from the plant to the surrounding during normal operation and in abnormal condition are necessary. Number 4 is feasibility of emergency plan. Emergency plans are derived from the risk assessment to provide protection and countermeasures in case of accident or radiological event in the nuclear power plant.
Related diagrams and pictures. The diagrams show the flow of boiling water reactor and pressurized water reactor. Actual site and location. United States has most nuclear reactor located along Mississippi River. Illinois has more reactor than any state. The total electricity generation is about 11,582 megawatts. References. This is the list of websites that we use as references in making this article.